Okay, so check this out. We've
Yes.
got a really great comment slash question engagement from the people that are out there getting it done. All right, so
Yes. Okay, good.
I'm excited for this, Chris, for you to give us some perspective. Okay, so this comes from Matt on Facebook, commenting on your page. His number one challenge in question is how do you look into leaving a gym without causing a stir? Or maybe you can reframe the question of what you think he's getting at.
Yeah. All right, good. All right. There's two things at play here. One is I want to go start my own gym. I want to go do my own thing. And that's really, look, and the other thing is I want to do it in a way that doesn't cause a stir, burn bridges, get me fired while I'm like telling people to come with me, or even hurt the people who've given me the opportunity by being here, right? So those are the two things that are happening. The bigger one of the two, I think, is how do you plan to go out on your own? Because that is a big deal. That's a big ass deal. Like there was a book I read probably 12 years ago called The E-Myth. It's a fantastic book, and if you should definitely read it if you haven't read it. It's basically about why most small businesses fail in the first 2 years, and why the majority of those that make it 2 years will fail in the next 2 after that. And ultimately, that boils down to the fact that people are good at the technical work they do, but they don't have a business mindset for creating a business. In other words, the author of the book would say a technician. So I'm a great personal trainer. I understand movement. I understand lifts. I understand what produces results in the body. And so I'm really good at this, and I'm tired of having a lid on my income, so I want to go start my own thing. But starting your own thing is completely different than being technically excellent at being a trainer. So this is the bridge into what I feel like I do. This is why I want to help trainers. So let's break, Josh, can I break this down for you?
Yeah, so let me stop for a second. So it sounds rather than answering his question of how do I go out on my own without creating a stir, you're saying, wait a second, let's start at square one and talk about going out on your own. That's
Yeah,
the question.
yes, I think that there's more value in first looking at there's more value for you if you're watching this and in understanding if you want to go start your own, there's some things you need to do right. And if you do those things right, then how you leave can also be done right. But if you don't plan it right, then how you leave is kind of left up to choice or chance. Okay?
Got it. Okay, perfect.
All
Hear
right.
you loud and clear.
So there's
All
really
right, we're
6 steps I want to give. I want to give 6 steps. All right. So the best way I think to do this is to tell you what the 6 steps are, and then break those 6 steps down. That way, you can watch sort of me talk about, or you can just listen to me talk about the 6 steps, and then if you want to go into each of the 6 steps in more in depth, you can click on the appropriate annotation or button in the video and go watch that. So the first step is, let's just put ourselves in your shoes if you're thinking about starting your own personal training business or fitness business, okay? So you have the idea. One day you're like, I had the idea, I want to do my own thing. Great. From that moment, the first thing you want to do is create a business plan. Okay, now business planning, I think, is misunderstood, and I think most people think of it more formally than it needs to be thought of. So basically, a business plan can be done in one page, what I call an economic model, where you're basically breaking down the numbers of what you need to have happen from your net income as the end result, and then reverse engineering that back to how many clients do I need in order to do that. Okay, maybe even from there, going from how many clients do I need to how many intakes do I need to do to get those many clients. Okay, so that's step one, is to create a business plan or an economic model. Actually, I'd also say inside of that, part of your business planning activity needs to be, well, I guess this is step two. It moves right into step two, which is to benchmark and trend your competition. So when you're doing your business plan and you do the numbers, the next thing you want to do is go figure out, what do other people charge for what you're wanting to do? So if you're going to go start a CrossFit box, like, what do other people with CrossFit boxes charge? You want to get a range of what they charge, okay? And what comes with that? How many sessions? How much? What's the frequency? What's the time? Okay, so benchmarking your competition or benchmarking the industry for what you want to go do is really important, because it gives you a sense of what the consumer is willing to pay. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's step 2. Step 1 is create your economic model. Step 2 is to go benchmark your industry and your competition. Step 3 is once you have that, you need to start to figure out and play with your story. And there's really 3 pieces to your story. The first one is your story needs to include who you are and what you're passionate about. So if you love CrossFit, let's just stay on that example for a minute. If you love CrossFit, great. Well, then that needs to be a part of your story and why you love it so much and why you think it's a good solution for other people. The second piece of you finding your story is who are the people you're targeting. If you're wanting to target obese people because you have a real heart and passion for making a dent in that population, like let's go make a difference there, and then you need to start to see the story evolve in that. What are their challenges, and how do you incorporate that into what you do with CrossFit, for example? Okay, and the third piece is if you can find a grander story in that, like it's not just I want to help people who are overweight or obese get thin, I want to contribute to a greater cause in our society. There's, right, you can see this, it's trending, right? Let's just say it's trending right now, where there are businesses that are socially conscious, where businesses care about giving back to the community or making a difference. So like Tom's Shoes, where you buy a pair of shoes and they give a pair of shoes away. If you can come from something that's going to make a bigger difference on a bigger scale, you want to include that in your story. So you need to think about that. Okay, so that's step 3.
Step 4. So now you're feeling good. You're ready to make the leap. But before you do that, we need to work on outreach.
Okay, good. All right, thanks. Okay, so now you've got your story. By the time you get to outreach, you should be feeling pretty good about steps 1 through 3. You should be feeling pretty good about your numbers. You should feel pretty good about what you're going to charge and why consumers will pay you for it. And you should be feeling pretty good about your story, that it's compelling enough for people to want to work with you. Okay. Now, all of that moves you now into the outer world of talking with people and outreach or connecting with people. And I'm going to give you, let me give you 3 places to look for that. The first one is to look with your existing clients, right? In our Facebook comment that we started this hangout with, right? He had 40 clients who were happy and excited and even asking him, when are you going to go out on your own? Those people chose, a lot of those people chose you. They like working with you. Or if they came to the gym and the gym assigned them a trainer and they assigned them you, over time, you're the one that has the relationship with them, not the gym. Okay? So the first place to look is reaching out and connecting with your current clients. Now, you want to do this in a way that isn't like, hey, I'm thinking about moving. Would you ever come with me? You want to do this in a way that is like, hey, listen, we've been working together now for 6 months. And what I'd like to do is kind of do a 6-month review. And then you're going to move them into an intake process. Now, you probably already did an intake when you started, but you're going to do like this review, a 6-month review. Or if you've been there 9 months, you're going to do a 9-month review or whatever it is. But, you know, I would say probably it could be anywhere from a week to 2 months before you go out on your own. You're going to have this conversation with them. And it's going to allow you to take the temperature, okay? I'm getting ahead of myself because that's step 5. So the first place to look is your current clients. The second place to look is your clients' contacts, right? This is pretty typical, but if you have a client, they have a family, their family members, or their friends, or their coworkers. Okay? That's the next place to look. And you can offer things like, hey, I'm going to do a free consulting session on, I'm going to give you a free workout plan, like refer your people to me, or I want to give your people a free plan, so have them come meet with me. I want to make a difference for them. Okay, that's the second place to look. And the third place to look is just your own network. So there are a lot of people that you know that they're probably not all training with you. So you need to start to reach out to them and have specific conversations with them about their life plans and their physical goals. And I have a list of questions for you. I'll sync that up somewhere over here for you to click on so you can see that list of questions that you could ask anybody in a conversation. Okay. When you ask the questions the right way, then you get to the end, and what happens is you start to see where people are open to you inviting them to that conversation. Okay. All right. So there, Josh. So step 4 is you need to do some outreach, and you need to talk to people, and you can use these questions to talk to them, and you can also invite the current people you have to do a free intake or a free review. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Now the next one is the actual intake.
Yeah, so once you've invited them to the intake, now we're going to actually sit down and do the intake. Now, if you watched our previous Hangout, it's really important that you do this intake correctly because it sets up your services. If you do it like most trainers do it, right? In fact, go watch our here, let me give you the other side of the screen. Go watch our other Hangout here and see what we talk about with that. But the thing is, like, if you do it right, people will self-discover what they want to do in their fitness, what they want to do in their life plans, and if you do it right, they're going to discover that other trainers don't ask them these questions. Every time when I'm meeting with a client, potential client, at the end of my questions in my intake, I ask, of all the other coaches or consultants that you've worked with, how many of them have asked you these kinds of questions? And I would tell you about 90% of the time, they don't ask these kinds of questions. And so what is it, what are they, when they ask these kinds of questions, what is the person left with? When you spend the kind of time to get to know them and ask these really penetrating questions that are about big deals in their life, right? And that you might actually have some ideas for them of what to do with those things. They're left with like, wow, you could really make a difference for me. And no website, no blog, no Facebook post, no YouTube video has given me this much depth or this much courage or hope for what I could do with my life or my fitness, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a huge competitive advantage to start to do your intake in such a way that it has people self-discover why you are a good solution to what they're trying to accomplish and why that's not available anywhere else out there. Okay. Once you have that, by the end of the intake, you should have a sense of whether people want to coach with you or not. The point is, in the intake at the end, if you can actually get their commitment financially, that's when you know if you have critical mass to start your own business. And if you don't get that critical mass, then don't start your own business. There was this whole cluster once you go out on your own that you have to figure out all the other stuff. You have to have your clients move with you. That's cash flow. If you don't start with cash flow, you're in a big pot of hot water. You're in big trouble. That's step 5.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So I love that because you're starting with the sales and you're letting the sales lead your decision rather than making the decision and then chasing or finding the sales.
Yeah, it's great. You know, again, my background is real estate. So when I watch real estate agents get into real estate, most of them just go take their test, and I guess if you're a trainer, you could just go get your certification, and then you think, okay, well, here I am, everybody, I'm ready to train you, and there is no focus or emphasis on how do you actually go do this as a business. People don't just land in your lap to train with you. There's a ton of trainers and there's a ton of realtors, and we don't need another one. What we need is people who understand how to build a business and deliver value, okay? And so Josh, it's huge. You have to have the commitment before you ever go out on your own. Okay, which I guess takes us to step 6. Let's go to step 6 real quick. And that is, step 6 would be you need to, once you have those people, you open your business. You sever your connection and you go start your new business, okay? And you bring those people with you and you run all their credit cards on day 1 and boom, you've got cash flow from day 1, okay? I would suggest also that you move, in the beginnings, you definitely move your business towards more of a service-oriented consulting framework and less of a, hey, let's get everybody out into the gym and train them perspective, right? Does that land? I'm thinking that might sound weird real quick. How does that sound to you over there?
It sounds, no, I was following it, and I know where you're going with that. It sounds like a perfect topic for another session here on YouTube.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah, that's a totally different monster, but I love it.
All right, it is a monster. It is a monster because I think it needs to be addressed at some point. Okay, so we'll address it at some point because I think that is where the industry needs to go. Because It's not about you being able to spot somebody as they bench press or you being able to walk them around the gym and tell them what to do with the lifts. That's important, but they can find that stuff on YouTube. What they need is a coach in their life to speak to them in a way, and that's a consulting relationship, not a trainer relationship. So
I love it. Okay,
well, let me just say this. The reason I brought it up, though, was because I don't want you from day 1 to be dependent on having to have a whole bunch of equipment, which equals overhead. I don't want you to have to be dependent on having to go find a gym that is willing to let you in and then, demand X amount of dollars from your cash flow. So if you can find ways to serve your clients in a park or from a home workout or something that doesn't include overhead or expenses, operating expenses, then that's what I'm advocating for. I'm trying to push people to limit their overhead starting out. That's why I brought that up. So.
Okay, perfect. All right, now let's circle back and dive very deep in each step. So we'll start with the business plan, the idea.
Okay. Okay, great. All right, good. Thanks for keeping me on track. So the first step of this whole thing is what I call an economic model or your business plan. And it's really simple. Josh, you can back me up on the calculator here in case I need you, which I probably will. But let's say that you want to make $100,000 net. You can see that, right, Josh? That
Yes.
writing?
Yeah,
okay.
Perfect.
So again, we're starting with the end in mind. What in the next 12 months, how much money do you want to net before taxes? Let's say 100,000.